This is CBS News Special Report. I'm Norah O'Donnell with Gayle King and Bianna Golodryga in New York. The Justice Department confirmed just moments ago that a suspect is in custody in connection with a series of 12 suspicious packages sent to critics of President Trump. That news came to us a few hours after the 12th package addressed to the former director of National Intelligence, James Clapper, was found at a New York City post office.
Another package found in Florida was addressed to Democratic Senator Cory Booker. The FBI says both are similar to the other packages that were confirmed to carry bombs.
Jeff Pegues is monitoring the situation and has the new information. Jeff, what do we know?
Well, as we've been reporting over the last 15 hours or so, federal investigators were telling us that all arrows were pointing at Florida, and this is why. We know now that one person is in custody. That person, according to our CBS News sources, was taken into custody at this location that you see here. This is near an auto parts store, or at an auto parts store. You see it right there in the middle of your screen. And according to investigators, it was Broward County Sheriff's deputies that moved in and made the arrest. It happened in the last few minutes, maybe in the last hour or so, at a location near or in Plantation, Florida, which for any of you who are familiar with that area, that's near Fort Lauderdale and, of course, north of Miami, Florida. You see, investigators are still on the scene. We're told that there was some sort of confrontation when the arrest was made, some sort of explosion. It may have been some sort of flashbang, which investigators use as they move in on suspects to stun them a little bit, to get them off balance so they can make the arrest. No indication at this point that the suspect, whoever it is, was putting up any sort of resistance. But, you know, these are obviously questions that we will continue to ask. But again, summarizing, one person in custody now confirmed by the Department of Justice, and there is a press conference upcoming at about 2:30.
And Jeff, talk about the breadth of law enforcement that were involved in terms of tracking down this suspect.
Well, there was a task force in place, a counterterrorism task force, a joint terrorism task force that was in place. It was headquartered out of New York City, led by the FBI. But, of course, on that task force, you had the ATF, the Secret Service, New York State Police, NYPD. So this was the result of a ton of information sharing. And that's why those task forces are so important when it comes to investigations of this scale. As you noted, Norah, there were 12 suspicious packages, the latest 2 coming this morning. But throughout the week, these suspicious packages were turning up in mail systems across this country, really confined to Washington, D.C., north of New York City and New York City itself, and then, of course, L.A. as well. But this was a large undertaking, this investigation, led by the feds, but, of course, local and state police involved as well.
All right, Jeff Pegues, I know you're continuing to do reporting there. We should point out, too, again, this arrest made of one person in Florida. Remember that all of those 12 packages that were sent were very similar. They looked similar, right? They had the 6 American flag stamps. Then they were purportedly from Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Congresswoman from Florida. Her name misspelled there, the former chairwoman of the Democratic National Committee. And yesterday, we learned that investigators had centered in on South Florida. That's where Manny Bojorquez is today. He is actually outside the U.S. mail facility in Opelika, Florida. That's actually near Miami, where there was a search overnight that found that package that was addressed to Senator Cory Booker of New Jersey. Manny, what can you tell us this morning?
That's right, Norah. Really, for the last 24 hours or so, law enforcement officials had been telling CBS News that they were zeroing in on Florida. And in particular, we found them last night at this large mail processing center where they were conducting a sweep. And that has revealed that latest package that you talked about here in South Florida, the one that was addressed to Senator Booker, which we're told has now been rendered safe. Plantation, where the arrest happened, is about a half hour away from here. We should point out that this is not a facility where someone can drive drop off packages. This is merely a processing center, so it's still unknown at this point where those packages were dropped off, but it appears that some of them did go through this facility here. Everything here at this point appears calm. It looks like workers are able to go in and out, so the threat appears to be no longer happening in this area, but clearly just about half an hour from now is where police are concentrating all their efforts right now, as they have secured at least one arrest in connection with this case.
Well, we've been saying all morning, thank you, Manny, that we predicted that arrest would happen very quickly because they had a lot of evidence to work with. We've also heard that there will be a news conference at 2:30, and of course we will bring that to you when it happens. Coverage will continue throughout the day on your local news, on the CBS station, and our 24-hour streaming network, that's CBSN. Watch it at cbsnews.com, and there will be a full wrap-up on the CBS Evening News with Jeff Glor tonight. This has been a CBS News Special Report. I'm Gail King with Nora O'Donnell and Bianca Golodriga here at CBS News, New York City.
For news 24 hours a day, go to cbsnews.com.